and welcome to the Monday evening.
Love ball like I do. After Dark, it's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
What's going on? Welcome into a Friday, March 7th edition of Field of 68 After Dark. It's the last weekend before every league gets into its conference tournament. So we are getting down to it, fellas. I'm joined tonight by a group of esteemed gentlemen, Rob Dauster, Matt McCall. Matt, you've been ducking me, man. Let's just put it all out there. You've been ducking me.
John, first of all, I had a flight tonight, and it didn't get delayed. It did not get delayed. So you know what? It's a miracle, and it's meant to happen, John. It's meant to happen.
It is. In today's day and age, I'm just happy that your flights are landing safely and not upside down, you know, and I hope that continues. I hope that continues for you. A lot to get to on the show today. We're going to catch up with BYU's Richie Saunders, and also, I mean, you guys see our bracket up at Field in the 68. Like, is this the best year for 7s and 8s in the history of the tournament? Because the brands and the teams involved, it's kind of ridiculous. So we'll get into that and just how much the 1s and 2s are going to be looking forward to those second-round games. But, Rob Dauster, let's start with the game of the night so far. That's what Illinois did at home tonight against Purdue, 88-80. Score a little deceptive because Purdue led for the majority of this game, and Illinois just kind of turned the water off late, 13-1 run to end it. Behind a great night from Will Riley, 22 there, 7-14 from the field, 88-80. This is now 3 in a row, Rob Dauster, for Illinois. So do we believe that they have turned a corner as we are nearing the tournament?
Yeah, they absolutely have turned a corner. They lost 3 in a row there at one point. I think that it was a combined 78 points they lost those 3 by. And the last one was an utter evisceration at the hands of Duke in Madison Square Garden. And their response is something that I don't think should be ignored, right? You beat Iowa by 20, which is fine. It's Iowa. Then you go into Ann Arbor and you beat Michigan by 20. And then you go and you take down a Purdue team that more or less outplayed Illinois for, I would say, McCall, for like the first probably 35 minutes of this game. The first half was an absolute masterclass from Braden Smith. Every single possession, they were getting him in those high ball screens. And Matt Painter is elite when it comes to being able to scheme ways to engage the opposite side of the floor while you get Braden coming off those ball screens. And it ended up just being a 2-on-1. And he was a professor teaching class in how to operate in ball screens against the drop. And in the second half, I thought that Brad, especially late, started switching up what they were doing, right? They made Braden have to figure out what was happening when he was coming off of those ball screens. We saw Ben Humrickhouse playing small ball 5 for a little bit. They were a little bit more aggressive guarding those ball screens. They were helping a little bit more. Like it was, they changed up what they were doing defensively. They made Braden think a little bit. I think it kind of got in his head. They woke up defensively, and then they ended the game on a 13-1 run. Kasparas Yakashonas hitting that step back 3. Finally, it felt like he missed 6 of those shots in a row. And then they finally knocked one down to give Illinois the lead, man. I thought that was a really, really impressive, gutty win. And I don't know if we've seen that kind of win from Illinois all that often this season. I was really impressed by it.
Rob, that's coaching. To make an adjustment like that. Okay, we're playing drop coverage. We're gonna sit back here in the lane, and our big's gonna be back on his heels the entire time. No, we can't do this. We can't play this way. We have to adjust what we're doing on pick and roll coverage to be able to win this game. And that's a tribute to Brad Underwood and what those guys are doing. This is the Illinois team that 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, that we said, hey, this may be the best team in the Big Ten. Oh, wait, they're the most talented team in the Big Ten. They had 5 guys in double figures tonight. The ball is hopping and moving around the floor, 20 assists. Like, this is the team. This is the team that we expected. This is the team that we thought would be the best team in the Big Ten. They ran into a buzzsaw in terms of the illness and everything they were dealing with. And then you look at what they're doing right now to be able to go on the road and beat Michigan like they did. And you mentioned it, Rob.
Yep.
You know, Iowa's Iowa. But then they followed up with a win like this over Purdue. Like, this is a second weekend NCAA tournament team. 100%.
Yeah, I agree. And real quick, John, not to cut you off, I want to make sure to specifically give a shout out to Ben.
I'm running a cutoff counter. That's one.
My bad. I want to give a special shout out to Ben Humbrickhouse because he's been a guy that's kind of been maligned at certain times with the way that Illinois wants to play. Maybe some questions about them defensively, and there's been some experimentation with him as a small ball 5. And I thought that the looks were, especially late, they played him at the 5. They forced Purdue to try to throw the ball into him in the post. He was able to wedge him out a little bit, about 12 feet away from the basket. And then as soon as TKR put the ball on the ground, they come over with that double. And Ben Humbrickhouse was tough enough and physical enough to be able to make life difficult. And it feels weird saying that when TKR goes for 29 and 7. 13 for 23 from the floor. But I thought that in the last 5 minutes, Humbrickhouse made a couple of really, really important toughness plays. And look, Will Riley came up with the big steal, man. They got to that ball screen again, and Will Riley was able to jump it and stole the ball from Braden Smith, which led to KJ's game-winning 3. I loved what I saw from Illinois. Shout out to Trevor Valise. Our producer, Trevor Valise. No one is happier right now than Trevor Valise. You got to love it, man.
Yeah, I think Brad Underwood's happy. I think Illinois fans are happy. And I'm going to go to Matt because, I would have gone to you, but you had to cut me off. So now you're going to have to face the punishment for that. We're going to Matt. Brad Underwood kind of tipped the hand a little bit, right? I don't remember exactly. It might have been 2 games ago. It was maybe before the Iowa game. He's like, listen, we're healthy again now, right? We've gotten through our various contagions.
What the heck was that, by the way? It was like flu A, flu B, mononucleosis. Are you kidding me?
That was a novel virus. We're still trying to find out exactly what it was. But I tend to, now that I've got a 3-game sample size since he said that, I'm inclined, Matt McCall, to believe him that the issues that we saw with them in January and February were maybe related mostly to the guys being in and out and that bug, whatever the hell it was, going through the team.
I agree with you. I think, again, how this team plays unselfishly on the offensive end of the floor. I mean, this is the team that we saw. This is the team that we saw a month ago or 2 months ago, or whatever it was, where it's like, hey, is this the best team in the Big Ten? That's where they were trending to. Like, go back to that game against Tennessee, right? Like, it was a 1-possession game on the road. Like, go back to that game. At home, to see what they did in that game and how they played, and we're all sitting here like, okay, this may be the best team in the Big Ten. This may be the best team in the Big Ten. And then, to your point, John Martin, whatever illness went through that squad, they're young too, and this is good for them.
Yeah.
This one makes me think that this is the most dangerous team too. Like, they went through all that. They went through some adversity. They had to battle through that, and.
Yep.
You see what they're doing now? They're dangerous, and they're young, and they grew up, and they had to battle through that. Like, I think this is, man, do not count this squad out. They're a second weekend team in the NCAA tournament, no question about it. And you never heard Brad Underwood, make an excuse. Like, it is what it is. We still have to go out there and compete. We have to play the game. We can't hide from the game. We got to go out here and compete.
Rob, let me ask you this. Let me ask one more question about Illinois, unless you got anybody else has additional thoughts, of course. But their style of play has really frustrated me at times. Like, they've been a hate watch for me for most of the year, just because the insistence on shooting the 3. And so many nights this year, and really for the majority of tonight, wasn't there. I think they started 3 of 3. and then they proceeded to miss their next 11, and they ended up obviously fine because of that late stretch there from 3. But I don't know. I just feel like this team is so good with just scoring the ball when they're just, when they're not settling for threes. Where do you come down on their reliance on that and just how really all around not, up to snuff this year from that distance?
Look, I get the concept of what Brad is trying to do, right? He has this ball screen maestro. He has a 5-man in Tommy Ivasic that can pick and pop and is a passer and can be that facilitating 5-man that allows you to play 5 out. He's got guys that in theory can make shots and can shoot. And so I understand what he's trying to do. I think it gets a little bit complicated because some of the pieces that he has is a little bit too specialized, right? You have some guys that are junkyard dogs, and you have some guys that are shooters, and you have some guys that can guard, and you have some guys that can get to the offensive glass. And there's not a lot of guys that could do a whole bunch of different things combined, right? Well, I think what we saw tonight was Ben Humrickhouse, who is a guy that is there to basically be an offensive weapon and to be a shooter and to do some of the booty ball stuff that they were looking at last year, right? He came up with big defensive stops. Will Riley, who was not exactly known for being a defensive menace, came up with a couple of big defensive stops and made some plays off the bounce. I thought that Trey White specifically, the last 4 games, he's averaging what? I think it's 17 and a half points right now. And he has made 9 threes in the last 4 games in that stretch. And I think his emergence as not only one of your kind of defensive wings, the versatile guys on the defensive end of the floor, but someone that can also step up and make a shot. He's a career 28% 3-point shooter, and he's knocked down 9 threes in the last 4 games and shooting it at, I believe it is a 60% clip. So if he's making shots, if Ben Humrickhouse is playing defensively, if some of these guys that are specialists in a certain role can be more than that, then that's when Illinois, to me, becomes a really dangerous team, because it's not just okay, we got a guy that can shoot, we got a guy that can guard, we got a guy that can get offensive rebounds. It's they got a bunch of basketball players that also happen to be really good at doing this one thing. And it comes together as more of a team instead of a bunch of guys that can do a certain role.
But Rob, to me, when you look at their numbers totally, they're 8th in the country in total offense. They're 2nd in the country in total rebounds. The issue with this team is on the defensive end of the floor, 207th in total defense. So it's the offense is not the issue. It's, can this team guard? They're going to be able to score points. Can they guard? Can they guard to be able to get to a second weekend in the NCAA tournament? Can they do that? Can they guard to compete for a Big Ten tournament championship? That's the issue. It's not on the offensive end of the floor. It's defensively. But when you have, they're the 8th ranked offensive team in the country, and then the 2nd rank in total rebounds. So, they're going to be physical. It's hey, when we need to stop, the game's on the line. It's nut crunching time. We need to stop. Can they do that? Are they going to be able to do that when they get into a close game in the 2nd round of the NCAA tournament?
Yeah. Let's talk about Purdue. I thought tonight kind of showed the best and worst of them. Obviously, when Braden Smith is making shots and he can get the ball in the middle there to Trey Kaufman-Renn, and he gets that floater going, it's tough to stop. The issue becomes there's just not much of a supporting cast. You got a pretty good game from Foster Loyer tonight, but you were pretty limited outside of that. Rob, what did you make of this Purdue performance in the L?
Look, this is what Purdue is this season, right? None of this stuff is surprising, right? They have the best point guard in college basketball. They have one of the best big guys in college basketball, and Fletcher Loyer is a dude that can get you 20 on any given night. And then there's not really all that much else there. They're like a 3-man team. The big 3 combined for 61 of their 80 points tonight, and that's pretty much what you're going to get. And I think what you saw, especially down the stretch of this one, is when Illinois got their big stops, the important ones, when they really needed them, they were able to send 2 guys at TKR. They were able to send an extra helper to Braden Smith because they knew that the most important thing was Purdue was going to try to find a way to be able to play that two-man game, right? They just all this false motion that they're doing out there, all this stuff on the weak side of the floor, engaging help defenders, make sure there's no tagger there. They just want to create a situation where they can get Braden Smith in the ball screen because they know you're playing drop. The defender's going to go over the screen, and Braden Smith is going to kill you in those 2-on-1 situations. You just have no chance. Yep. So what Illinois basically did was said, all right, we're going to play 2-on-2 on those situations. And there was not another guy that could step up and make them pay for ignoring them. We've seen Illinois try to do stuff like this before. They tried to do that to Sion James in Madison Square Garden, and he hit 3 threes before the first TV timeout, right? They tried to do that to Jackson Kohler when they played Michigan State at in State Farm Arena a couple weeks ago. And Jackson Kohler had, 23 and 10, hit 4 threes in that game. So I think that this is what Purdue is. They have 2 guys that are absolutely elite and a very good role player, and there just is not quite enough of a supporting cast.
I love how you bring up false motion, though, and try to compromise the pick and roll protection, because no one loved that more than me. Nobody loved that more than like how can we hide the protection on a ball screen? Like, where is this going to cover? And Rob, you bring that up. That's awesome. I love the fact that you bring that up. Look,
he did play it. Was it Vassar? Or Vassar?
Vassar?
Yeah. I don't know how to say it. I mean,
hey, look, I cut John off one time, and now I'm just going to get roasted for the rest of the show, huh?
No, I'm saying he's a product of a powerhouse.
That was elite. You should be a coach. I can't even imagine your son's rec league team right now. Like, guys, we're not compromising pick and roll coverage. We
won a championship.
The tag is coming
we
from.
Won the title this year, McCall. We won the title.
That's what
we hung a banner this year. We hung a banner on Monday. We won the championship.
What a year! What a year for the Dausters.
What a year! That's awesome. I love it, Rob. But I'm with you just in terms of, look, like, back-to-back National Player of the Year gone. This is a new Purdue team. And it's almost like, Matt Painter is getting the most, he's maximizing the group that he has. The fact that, 2 or 3 weeks ago they were in first place in the Big Ten, whatever it is, he's maximizing this group. Look, if they're a second weekend NCAA tournament team, we would all be sitting here saying, of course they are, because it's Matt Painter. It's Braden Smith. It's Fletcher Loyer. Of course they're a second weekend team. If they lose in the first weekend, we would all be saying, hey, look, National Player of the Year, back-to-back is gone. So I don't think it's really surprising. What's surprising is they hadn't lost, 3 games in a row since the 2019-2020 season. That's surprising. That's a credit to Matt Painter. But this squad they're not as good as they were last year. Guess what? Neither is UConn. Guess what? If UConn's in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, none of us would be surprised. They were the 2 most dominant teams in college basketball last season. And this season, it's not a rebuilding year, but they're not as good as they were. And that's the bottom line. And that's okay. And they're still winning at a high level because of who their coaches are.
I kind of feel like Purdue. Go ahead.
Am I going to get yelled at for cutting you off again?
No,
Otherwise, I'm just going to let you go, John.
Yes,
that we got out of the sticks at the same time.
You throwing out compromising pick and roll coverage, Rob. I am so. It's like I don't know. I'm so happy about that. I'm like, this guy. Come on.
Well, I've been listening to a lot of the Field of 68 podcasts with Matt McCall on them, so that's where I'm trying to educate myself a little bit here. The thing about Purdue is, I think that there is a little bit of room to criticize Painter for not supplementing that core by going into the portal and getting some like veteran pieces, maybe another guy that could be a defensive stopper, maybe another scorer on the ring, like just getting the next Lance Jones, right? I think there is a little bit of room to criticize him there. But what I'll say is that I think that this team is very different right now if Daniel Jacobson doesn't, I think, was it a break? I think he had a fractured fibula. Because I think he's the rim protector that they're missing. One of the things they're really missing is just a guy at the front of the rim that can make it difficult to score when you're able to turn a corner and get to the basket. They don't have that rim protection. And I think if he was healthy, they would be gone. The other part of it is every single guy that is playing like a major role right now, outside of, I believe, Caleb, everyone's coming back. Braden Smith is a junior. He's been in college for 38 years, but he's a junior. Trey Kaufman-Wren's a junior. Foster Loyer's a junior. So I don't think Paint's vision is I think he knew that this was not going to be the year. I think his game plan was, we're going to be able to be competitive this year, and who knows, maybe something will happen. But by letting CJ Cox, by letting Cam Heide, by letting Jakari Harris, by letting Miles Coleman learn on the fly and get thrown into the fire of a Big East season, next season, when this crew is all seniors and TKR is going to be an All-American and we got Daniel Jacobson coming back and Foster Loyer and Braden Smith are in their 83rd year as 29-year-olds out here, I think that's when those guys are going to step up to the elite level, and that's when Purdue's going to take the leap. And I kind of respect it, man. Like, I like the idea that Paint was like, we brought these guys in for a reason. We're going to let them develop. We're going to teach them how to play our style of basketball, and they're going to be upperclassmen next year, and they're going to be the players that we need them to be. And I'm going to trust them because I brought them here for a reason. I'm not going to recruit over them. I'm just not going to do it. So it is what it is for Purdue this year, but I love the way that Paint does it. I have so much respect for the way that he runs a program, and I will absolutely have Purdue in my preseason top 5 next year, assuming that all of those 3 come back.
By the way, it's cool when Matt Painter does that, but when Dan Hurley does it, all you want to do is give him shit. How come it's cool when Matt Painter does it? How come it's cool when Matt Painter does it, but when Dan Hurley does it, it's a problem? He did the same thing. I never said it was a problem. I never said it was a problem. Sure, because people have said that it was a problem that he didn't do more in the portal because he bet on guys that had been in the program and they didn't make the steps that he anticipated they would make.
My issue with the way that UConn handled the offseason was the pieces that they brought in. I think that there was a misevaluation there, as opposed to anything other than not bringing enough guys in. They brought in the wrong guy at a certain spot. So that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, did a bubble pop in Richmond, Virginia tonight? Matt McCall needs to accept some responsibility for this, for his antics pregame in the group chat. We'll do that. Richie Saunders is going to join us. We got an interview with him a little bit later. Lots more to come here. Field of 68 After Dark. Stay tuned.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new light.
Welcome back. Field of 68 After Dark here, Friday, March 7th edition of the show. Thanks for being with us. We're obviously on YouTube. We're on X. We're on Sirius XM. Richie Saunders is going to join us a little bit later. BYU, one of the hottest teams in America right now with what they're doing. And we'll touch on just how much we believe them, right? Because they're now doing it outside of Utah. I mean, I think that's kind of always the big test for a BYU team is like, all right, do it like outside of Utah on a Saturday night, and I'll start to subscribe to it. Well, they did it against Iowa State. And so we'll touch on just how real it is for BYU. We want to start with VCU because Memphis did just go final, but let's just do that if we can, Dig. And let's start with VCU and Dayton. Obviously, VCU, as per our latest Fielding the 68 bracket, they were in, and our our experts believe they would be 100% in with a win tonight against Dayton, but they couldn't get it. They couldn't get the win. Furious rally late. I mean, you got to give them credit for just how much of a game they made it in the final 30 seconds. I mean, it was really nip-tuck there, but Dayton gets the win 79-76. And Rob, what do you think this means for this VCU team with this loss tonight?
I hope it doesn't mean that they're going to get left out of the tournament, but we're looking at a situation now where they have 2 quad 1 wins, and neither of those quad 1 wins are inside the top 70. They beat Colorado State, who's playing right now on a neutral court, but that ends up being a quad 2. And it just – I hope that this is not the kind of situation that's going to end up costing them a bid to the NCAA tournament, because Dayton is Dayton. We saw what Dayton did in Maui, right? It's not a fluke that Dayton had some of the success that they did out there. What was a fluke was what happened when Dayton got into league play and things kind of got messed up a little bit. I think VCU, anybody watching them can tell that they're good enough. I think that the metrics like KenPom and the net will tell you that they are good enough on paper. But what it comes down to is a resume. And there's that big, ugly, stinking loss to Seton Hall on neutral court down in Charleston that happened way back in November. That is just going to be an anchor on their resume. And I think that they've done enough to deserve an at-large bid, but I think that they're going to end up being one of those teams where if they don't win the A-10 tournament, you're looking at another situation where you might end up having the kind of loss on your resume that could push you down to the wrong side of the bubble. And then you're also at risk of being one of these bid thieves. And I think Ryan Odom's done a fantastic job and they deserve a bid. I think it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be a really, really stressful week if they end up losing early.
Yeah, Matt, you brought this game up in the group chat just because of the implications for VCU winning in. I'm not putting this on you. I can't do that. You were just stating the fact. You didn't.
That's okay.
Do you feel like you? I mean, honestly, do you feel like you mushed VCU a little bit today in the group chat?
No, I don't think that at all. I have a couple thoughts here. One, it's like Dayton, my man Anthony Grant. Like, where has this been? Where has this been? This was a team out in Maui that averaged 85 points per game. 85 points per game out in Maui. And look, we all know I love the saying winning is hard, but this Dayton team looked like the team that was out in Maui. They put 5 guys in double figures today, led by Javon Bennett. The ball was moving around the floor. They had 18 assists in the game. Like this was the team to go in that kind of environment and win this game with everything that was at stake for VCU. And I was like, oh, well, they've already locked up the regular season. They've won a championship, but they're still on the bubble. So there's so much at stake for VCU. So as someone that covers the A-10, I don't know if I'm more frustrated with VCU not winning the game and solidifying their at-large bid, which I'm with Rob. I think they should be in the field. They should be in the tournament. That Seton Hall loss, who we saw Seton Hall, go toe-to-toe with St. John's, who's the best team in the Big East because of how hard they play, how physical they are. That loss hanging over VCU's head. VCU's an Atlantic 10 team or an NCAA at-large team. Look, if let's just say VCU is an 8 seed or a 7 seed, and you're a 2 or a 1 in the second weekend, whatever it may be, and you see this team, you're concerned. Mm-hmm. That's how good they are. So I don't know if it's more for me covering the league frustration of like, man, Dayton, where's this been? Where has this been? This.
That's what it is for me.
NCAA tournament team. They look like an NCAA tournament team. They are.
That's what it is for me, McCall.
For me, it's like, golly, like where has this been?
That's what it is for me. It is very much frustration that Dayton finally decided to show back up as the team that
the last game of the regular season.
In the last game, when they've already kind of buried their at-large hopes, and now you're going to do the same thing to VCU. And in terms of people saying that VCU had nothing to play for, if you think VCU had nothing to play for, then you don't understand the rivalry that VCU and George Mason have. Because if VCU had won tonight, they would have won the outright regular season Atlantic 10 championship. And by losing, it opens the door for George Mason to share that championship with them. VCU and George Mason is similar and dates way back into like even the CAA days. That is a intense in-state, the state of Virginia rivalry. So,
but the other job too.
To see. Go ahead.
Like in terms of Dayton, they beat UConn out in Maui. They went toe to toe with Iowa State. They went toe to toe with Carolina. They should have won that game. They came out of that. They beat Marquette. Like they beat Marquette. They have 2 top 10 wins on the season. So you're like, Dayton looks like an NCAA tournament team. They've had some bad losses, but it's like, where has this been? That's the biggest frustration.
Yeah, for the A-10 as a whole, it's been kind of frustrating how that has played out, because I think that you've seen in moments how good St. Louis can be and see that look like what should be a tournament team, and also in moments they look like they've kind of fallen apart. Right, Loyola, if their point guard doesn't get hurt, they're an NCAA tournament team, but they only had 1 point guard on the roster. He ended up tearing his ACL 8 games into the season. They were undefeated with him, and they've been good, but they haven't been push for an at-large bid good without him. St. Joe's finally figured things out here the last 5 games. They won 5 in a row down the stretch. I'd make the argument they are the most talented team in the Atlantic 10. So it's the top 5 in the A-10 this season was very, very, very good. And the fact that it's trending towards looking like a situation where VCU probably needs to get to the title game to have any chance of having this be a 2-bid league is just, I don't know how that happened. It's been fluky. It's been freaky. There's been injuries. I don't want, disappointing is the wrong way to say it, but frustrating and feeling like you're beating your head against the wall, because this league is so much better than it was 2 or 3 years ago. And if it ends up getting 1 bid, that it's just, how did this happen? Rob,
I said this to you earlier today. If St. Joe's wins the tournament and you have to go against that roster, like in the like, let's say they're a 10 seed, 11 seed, whatever it may be, you have to go against that backcourt. You have to prepare for Eric Reynolds or Xavier Brown or Fleming, who's an NBA draft pick. Like, good luck. Like, you're concerned.
Yeah, let's say they end up being a 12 seed, right? And right now, one of our 5 seeds is St. Mary's. St. Joe's will have more talent on the floor than St. Mary's if those two end up playing. Yeah, St. Joe's probably has 2 guys that are going to end up playing in the NBA next year, and Rasheer Fleming and Eric Reynolds. I don't know if St. Mary's has 1. They might. St. Mary's is talented. Augustus Marshallonis is a bad dude, but it's the top. I'm telling you guys, the top 5 in the A-10 is really, really good, and I just hope that the committee can recognize that and see and see. You know, look at the KenPom numbers, man. Look at the net. Look at those metrics. They're there for a reason. They matter. John, go ahead. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I don't think metrics matter at all. You know, as someone that lives in Memphis, we don't actually believe in those. We don't believe in metrics. We think they're biased. They have an agenda to push, right? But yeah, it should be a fun tournament there in the A-10, no question about it. And I agree with you guys. I mean, there are a lot of live teams in that league come tournament time. All right, an outright regular season champion was crowned just a few minutes ago for the first time since joining this wretched league. And it wasn't wretched at the time that they joined it, okay? It became that, but it was not always that. Memphis wins the AAC. We had to wait 12 years for this. 12 long years. My goodness. Memphis gets it done against South Florida. That means that it's over. They were already the 1 seed. They had clinched a share, but now it's official. I believe the final there was 84-66 tonight for the University of Memphis over South Florida. So Rob, I know this 68, excuse me, 84-68 there for Memphis. Rob, I know that this is not obviously a good league whatsoever, but Memphis was not even picked to win it. Memphis was picked second in this league in the preseason. So is that an overachievement by Penny Hardaway, or is that just a sign that people were way, way, way more down on Memphis than they should have been?
Well, I'm just going to start it by saying I think that it's great that Memphis is in the American, and I think they should stay there forever. And I never want to see him leave because I think it's just a great fit.
I mean, what an asshole thing to say. You're terrible. You're absolutely terrible.
For the people listening at home, John Martin,
circle of hell.
John Martin loves the AAC more than anybody on the planet loves the AAC.
His favorite league.
I will say this: I absolutely do think that Penny has overachieved with this team this season, because I think that Memphis is good enough to be able to make a Final Four. And I don't think that's crazy. It's going to be difficult for them because of where they're going to be drawn, but they look like they are going to end up being above that 8-9 game, right? And I think as long as you can kind of avoid that 8-9 game, if you're on the bottom half of the bracket, 7, 10, 3, 6, wherever you are, you're going to have a chance, because I think there's a significant difference between the top 4 teams in the country and the rest of college basketball. Memphis has 2 guards that are absolute killers. PJ Haggerty's a stud, dude. If you have not watched PJ Haggerty play, he gets to the line, he's strong, he's physical. You're not going to knock him off his line when he's trying to get to his spot. He can make threes. Tyrese Hunter, it feels like every shot that he takes, when you're kind of saying to yourself when the ball's in the air, ooh, that's a big one, he probably needs to hit that. It goes in every single time when it's one of those shots. I love what's happened with Dane Danger over the course of the last 5 weeks. You probably have stats on that better than me right now off the top of my head, John. But him turning into a real weapon in the post has given them another dynamic to what they do offensively. They got role players. Colby Rogers can go for 20 in a given night. I think that this is a really, really dangerous Memphis team. And guess what, Matt? Guess what? It looks like they care again. They got a little bit bored in the middle of the season. January was kind of tough. February was kind of tough. But remember, this was the Memphis team that went out to Maui and looked just as good, if not better than Dayton out there. And I'm telling you, man, I think they got the horses. I think they're going to be in the second weekend, and I think they're going to pull off an upset there against somebody. I don't know who it is. If you're Wisconsin, do you want to see Memphis in the second round of the tournament? No, sir.
So I'm just curious, Rob, what was tough? What was tough?
What do you mean?
When you say January was tough,
what was so tough about a team that only lost 2 games in their league, Rob? That's what he's asking. That's what he wants to know.
What was tough? They lost 2 games in the league.
A lot of it wasn't pretty, and what's happened is they went from being a team that was ranked in the top 30, close to the top 25 in KenPom, to now they're going to drop out of the top 50. Depending on what happens with some of this other stuff. They're 49th right now in KenPom. That's what I'm saying. Is their metrics took them from a place where we could have talked about them being a top 4, maybe even a protected seed.
They have 26 wins right now. They have 26
They're
wins.
all, I'm telling you, yeah. Look, I told you. I think they're
Here comes the common sense. Here comes the common sense.
I think, again, we have no idea what was going on in terms of his coaching staff. But to make the move that he did before the season, everyone's like, it's not going to work out. It's not working.
Don't say everyone. Say Jeff Goodman.
What is happening here? What is this? No, he made the decision that was look, this is what's best for our program right now. This is what's best for our program right now, and it's paying off. There was something that was wrong. There was a disconnect. And if your staff is not connected, your players are going to see it. They are going to see it. So when you walk in that locker room and you try to preach connectivity, togetherness, all this, your players are going to think you're full of shit. If they see that, what are you talking about, man? We know you guys aren't on the same page. So if you guys aren't on the same page, how are we going to be on the same page? So he made a decision with his back against the wall that's paying off. Credit to Penny for doing it. Credit, for him making that decision when he needed to, and it's paying off dividends. I mean, this is, again, Rob, not a team that you want to see in the second weekend. If you're a higher seed, you don't want to see this squad. 21 assists tonight. They're playing the game the right way. The ball is moving around the floor. They're unselfish. This is a dangerous team.
Yeah, I want to bottom line it by saying that I don't think Jeff Goodman was alone in his skepticism. I mean, that was a cleaning house that took place on September the 4th.
Yeah.
I mean, that just doesn't happen. I mean, so it was unprecedented.
Because he knew, like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
This is the best
100%.
move for our program right now. And that takes some guts. That takes guts to be able to do that.
And he's got support from a new athletic director that came in Ed Scott. And I feel like he probably feels like for the first time in his time here that he's truly and 100% supported. And the other thing I would just say before we kick it to break is that whether it's PJ Haggerty, whether it's Tyrese Hunter, whether it's Dayton Danger, all these guys came into Memphis and they had career years. I mean, Tyrese Hunter, career year from 3. Dane Danger finally getting a starting job. Illinois fans know what he's capable of, right? They got a taste of it off the bench at various. He's come here and he's been unlocked. So I think the residuals for Memphis are huge. If they can just kind of stamp this with a Sweet 16 and a second weekend appearance, I think Memphis can reassert itself as a destination for a lot of these guys because the NIL is there, the development is there. Now you're winning your league. Now you got some tournament success. That's the only thing that's missing for Penny at this point. You've won your conference. You've won your tournament before. Now you have to break through. And obviously, if there are 6, that will be much easier. We shall see. But a nice win symbolically for Memphis tonight to clinch that outright AAC title. They stand alone as conference champs for the first time. When we get back, Richie Saunders. We're going to catch up with Richie Saunders from BYU, the hottest team in America. And we'll also get into maybe a little bit on just how damn good these 7s and 8s are this year. It just feels abnormal. We'll get into that and more on the other side. Field 68 after dark.
Now is your chance to prove you're smarter than the field of 68. We're hosting a Survivor contest with our partner Splash Sports. There's a $25 entry fee, a 25 entry max in the contest, and more than 1,700 spots available, which means there's a $40,000 max prize for the winner. Survivor is the future of March Madness. Each day you pick a team to win. If they win, you advance. We'll also be running a free to enter bracket contest as well as a second chance Survivor in the Sweet 16. So prove you know more ball than the field of 68 on Splash Sports. Would you be surprised to find out that the Field of 68 is home to more than 35 podcasts? More than 25 team-specific podcasts that are hosted by the people that know what fans want the most. The Goodman and Humble podcast, the DTF podcast, the A10 Insider podcast, and the Mountain West podcast. But wait, there's even more. The Field of 68 will be launching the ACC Insider podcast this year. Subscribe to this channel and come along for the ride.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark here on a Friday, March 7th edition of the show. Joined tonight by a proud Division III product, Rob Dauster, Matt McCall, one of the best, obviously. Talked about Memphis, talked about Purdue, Illinois, and one thing we haven't talked about is the hottest team in America, which is BYU. I mean, what a win. One of the best wins of the season, going into Hilton as a 9-point dog. All right, listen, we know you can win at home, BYU. We know you got that on a Saturday night. But can you show us something on the road in a hostile environment like that one? And they stamped it. And Rob Dauster and Jeff Goodman got a chance to catch up with one of the guys behind this push right now for BYU and Richie Saunders. They caught up with him. Here's a little bit of that interview.
What's been the biggest reason that you've been able to win these games?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I feel like, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is what I just kind of talked about of just like resilience, just be okay with not knowing everything, right? Like we've had to figure each other out. We've had to figure out the staff out, and they've had to figure us out. It's been just such a big learning experience. And so, like just I'd say that's got to be in my mind the biggest thing um, is just being willing to like have a growth mindset um, and just keep bouncing back. Because you're right, like it was like we're talking at Providence, which that was so hard. They get it even with second game of the Big 12 getting blown out at Houston, which they're incredible. But like those are big gut check times. And but yeah, we've had to figure each other out.
One of the things that I, looking at it from the outside, it feels like KY took a little while to figure out the difference in the college game and the pro game, right? Like your head coach is a guy coming from the NBA. Your offensive and defensive coordinators are guys that are coming from the professional ranks, and it's more physical in college. There's less of a everybody runs the same thing in the NBA, right? Everyone has the same lingo, everyone has the same verbiage. It's all the same stuff. And then you come to college, and you're allowed to make contact. You're allowed to check cutters. It's a very different game, and it feels like it took them a little while to figure out, like, okay, these are the things that we can do that will work at this level versus what we were trying to do that maybe didn't work quite as well.
Yeah, no, there's what you're saying is true. Like that's just how it is. And I mean, like it's been awesome though to be able to just to see that and to be able to be a part of figuring it out, we got such a good staff, and like they're clearly just experts in their field. And yes, it's been a little different for them, like not being not being in the NBA or in Europe or whatever, right? Like, but it's been cool to see it come together and be a part of it.
All right, a couple of things. One is I love how as soon as you started getting into like the intricacies of the game, how instantly Goodman checked out of that interview. I mean, just unbelievable. Just gone. See you later.
And Goodman didn't have like the Uncrustables in the background, right? The other night we saw like Goodman's grocery shopping behind him, and he doesn't like peanut butter. And who doesn't like peanut butter, by the way? Goodman. But like, there was
that's insane.
His groceries were not behind him.
Really is.
That was the other thing I took away from that.
Yeah, exactly. And then KY. I think even Richie was like, oh yeah, KY. I didn't realize you were on the initial basis with BYU coach Kevin Young. But no, look, obviously this team, you look at what they've done since the middle of February, it's as impressive as what anybody else has done. I mean, you look at it at West Virginia, beat up on Kansas State. I mean, just blew the doors off Kansas, maybe broke Kansas, winning controversially, albeit at Arizona, beating Arizona State there, West Virginia again, and then obviously we saw, the double overtime against Iowa State, Rob Dauster. So I guess I would just ask you, how real is this BYU team when it comes to second weekend and beyond?
So they've won 11 of their last 13, right? In that stretch since January 15th. They are the 7th best team in America right now, according to Torvik. I do think that they're real. I think what happened was, I mentioned it in that interview a little bit, but from what you guys heard, I think getting adjusted to the coaching staff and having the coaching staff kind of figure out what needs to happen to be able to have success at the college level was a part of it. But I also think a huge thing was moving Mawot Mag into the starting lineup. And their issue was that they have a bunch of guys that can score, that are tough, but aren't really big and physical. Well, Mawot Mag is as big and as physical as anybody that you're going to find at the college level, and he shuts the water off. He's not going to get you all these steals and these blocks, and he maybe doesn't have the greatest metrics and numbers defensively, but he is a guy where if you put him on somebody, that dude is not scoring anymore. And I think moving him into the starting lineup, changing what the level of physicality and toughness was for that team and that program is having a very real impact. Matt, I'm in on them, man. I'm in on them. I don't know if they are good enough to be able to get to a second weekend because of what we look at in terms of, how 7-8 line kind of a situation. But I would not want to see if you're a 2 seed. If you are Michigan State and you draw BYU in the second round and they got a lottery pick and you got all these I don't want that. I don't want that if I'm Tom Izzo.
No, I'm with you. Like in terms of their efficiency on the offensive end of the floor too. I mean, they're 4th in the country in offensive efficiency. Like like that's like, why would you want to face this team? Like, why would you want to, like, points per possession 1.147? Like, that is, man, that is dangerous. So I'm with you, Rob. I mean, and too, in the Big 12 and what they're doing against the competition, I mean, they're legit. They're for real. You do not want to see that. It'll be interesting to see where the committee seeds them. But this is, I keep saying it about other teams we've talked about tonight. I mean, this is the second weekend NCAA tournament team, 100%.
I'll tell you this, Matt. Hilton Magic is called Hilton Magic for a reason.
For
BYU went in there, took a 21-point lead, watched Iowa State come all the way back, took a 6-point lead in overtime, blew that lead, and then beat them in double overtime. They gave that game away twice in a building that is known for these ridiculous comebacks and unbelievable wins, and still found a way to win. That to me, that says something. I don't know exactly what it is, John, but it says
it says something.
It does. Now, look, I agree. I agree 100% with what Matt McCall is saying, but I think it's time to start making a running list of teams that people do want to see in the tournament, because all we've done is say who teams don't want to see. All right. So I mean, nobody wants to see anybody. I mean, we're getting to a point where people don't want to see St. Joe's. They don't want to see Dayton. They don't want to see VCU. They don't want to see.
Yes.
Who wants to be seen then, other than the 16 seeds? Okay.
We
need to make a list of teams that want to be seen.
Can you imagine, John Martin, if you are a 1 seed and in the second round you have a matchup with Kansas? Can you imagine?
I think I might want to see Kansas this year of all years. Really? I think I might want to see them. I do. I think I want to see them.
No,
I don't want to see them.
Who do you want to see?
3 teams.
Who do you want to see?
I got 3 teams that are going to be top 5 seeds that I would, I guess top 6 seeds that I would not complain about drawing in the second round of the tournament.
I can't wait.
1, Michigan. I'm sorry, but teams that don't have point guards, that turn the ball over too much, that have defensive liabilities. I'm not in on Michigan. I love Dusty, right? And I think he is doing a coach of the year job this year. But when you win all of these close games, there's an element of I don't want to say luck. Luck is the wrong way to phrase it, but you're playing a dangerous game.
No, it's not.
When you're
no, it's not.
Nothing but
I mean, it's really not. I mean, it's really not.
I agree. You're fortunate. Okay.
Marquette.
Same thing.
I think Marquette's, their legs are gone. They've been running to the ground a little bit. Cam Jones looks like a guy that has spent too much time carrying too heavy of a load, and it is what it is. The last one I'll say is Oregon. Love Dana Altman. Love Jackson Shellstead, but I'm
These
not
are really
convinced.
good. You nailed it.
I'm not convinced. I'm not in on
this.
Oregon here.
I can't compete with this.
And Texas A&M might get dropped early, dude. Texas A&M might get dropped early.
That's a great addition. That's a great addition to the list. Will not mind seeing them in the tournament at all.
I gave you a 3 seed, a 4 seed, a 5 seed, and a 6 seed. There you go. Clip that, Trevor. That's your YouTube headline right there. Teams you want to see in the NCAA tournament.
That's right.
Boom.
Because A&M is like, can you survive the way they have to survive, by you intentionally missing the first shot just so you can score. I mean, that's I just don't know if that's a way to live. So I think all 4 of those are really solid. Now, one piece of that before we get to the toast of the night is we wanted to touch on, maybe we don't have time. I don't know. We can do it in the afters of the Saturday preview, but just these 7 and 8s, right? This particular year. I mean, you look at some of the brands, like Memphis is going to be on there. BYU was going to be on there. Gonzaga is going to be on there. UConn is going to be on there. I mean, even a team like Mississippi State, which at one point was 11-1 this year. I mean, is this, Rob? I know we're in the moment, so I don't want to overdo it, but is this potentially the best 7 and 8 lines we've seen in recent history in the tournament?
I think the way I would phrase it is the most dangerous, right? Like Louisville is going to end up being a 7 seed because they figured things out once you got to ACC play where they weren't able to stack the quality wins you needed to get off that 7 line. BYU figured things out too late after having a rough start to the season. Illinois was unhealthy all year, and now they've kind of started clicking, right? Memphis, we talked about Memphis. We think the world of Memphis. UConn is an explosive offense where if they get the right matchup and you have a night where Liam McNeely and Solo Ball go nuts, they can put up 95 points against anybody. And it's very difficult to score 96 points and be able to beat them. Bill Self is Bill Self. Mark Few is Mark Few. Like it's ridiculous. And I firmly believe, and I don't think this is a hot take, and McCall, you can call me dumb if you want to. I don't see any way that any of those 4 number 1 seeds lose in the first weekend of the tournament. I'm just not buying it's happening. I think that all 3 or all 4 of them get to the Elite 8 at minimum. But I could see Michigan State, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Alabama, like those 2 seeds, man, like if those, you're going to have a rough game in the second game of the NCAA tournament for all of those 2 seeds. There might be some fireworks there.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last time that Mark Few didn't get to the Sweet 16? Do you remember?
It was 2015, right? I think it's been a 9 straight, right?
Okay. All right. So if they're a 9 seed and you have to face them in the second round, you don't think the media is going to bring that up in the press conference to whoever they're playing
3 straight
against?
days.
They're
3 straight
bringing
days
that
you're
up.
gonna get asked.
And then all of a sudden you're like, what? This guy's – well, he hasn't missed a – what? Are you kidding me right now? What? And that's
I'm sorry, it was 2014. McCall, I got it wrong. It was 2014. It was even further ago.
14. John Martin, is this the year?
Ago.
Is this the year? Are you
John
counting
Martin was
Mark
a freshman in high school
year?
the last time Gonzaga didn't make it to the second weekend of the tournament.
Yeah, no, I've always liked this Gonzaga team. They've kind of been a falling knife all year. I can't quite figure them out, but I mean, I certainly I've thought for a long time they could go on a deep type of run with their bigs. I mean, I realize that they have been under.
Knife?
Yeah, just because they have kept losing in their league. Like they've had an underwhelming year. I know, but we are. I know, but we're used to Gonzaga doing. No, I'm not really arguing. I'm just saying that compared to what they have been, right? I mean, this has been a down year for them. I mean, not because the bar was set so damn high. But anyway, we got time to talk about this. We'll do it in the afters. Rob, you want to get us started with a toast of the night?
Yeah, you got to go with Trayson Eaglestaff. I think that's the obvious one. 51 points. North Dakota knocks off South Dakota State in the quarterfinals of the Summit League tournament.
That dude is going to get
another
big
one?
Payday.
How about Dominique Clifford? Dominique Clifford, I think, has 38 right now as Colorado State's up by 8. That's Matt McCall's toast of the night, Dominique Clifford. Colorado State's up by 8 at Boise State.
I saw him
go to the computer and start typing away over there.
That's what I got on
Is
right
that
now.
true? Is that your toast of the night? Are you letting him speak for you on that?
No, heck no, I'm not letting him speak for it. Javon Bennett, 22 points. Dayton over VCU. Congrats, Dayton. My man, Anthony Grant. We got the J House water right now. Let's go.
I'll go Penny Hardaway, of course. First outright championship in the conference ever, and first for Memphis since 2013. So toast to Penny Hardaway for getting the job done. Hey, we're going to the afters. We got a lot to talk about. We'll preview Saturday. Thanks for being with us. For Rob Dauster, for Matt McCall, I'm John Martin. See you there.
As teams are fighting to get off the bubble and into the field of 68, I got a beverage for you that's been off the bubble since day one. Dad Water. No bubbles, no fizz, just a smooth, refreshing canned cocktail unlike anything else on the market today. If you're tired of the same old beers and seltzers on game day, crack open something different. Dad Water is made with tequila, water, and natural flavors. Nothing artificial, no BS. It's 100 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, so if you're on a diet like me, you're good to go. Dad Water is also an Indiana brand. College Hoops is in its DNA, and they want you to enjoy a great lineup of products all tournament long. Dad Water is the ultimate game time drink with no bubbles. It just drinks like water. Clean, smooth, refreshing, and without those burps. So take it from me. This is the easiest drinking adult beverage I've ever had. Dad Water is now available at Target, Total Wine and Liquor, and Meijer, as well as your favorite local liquor stores. Or you can order online at drinkdadwater.com. Dad Water, tequila, water, natural flavor. I want my home to feel like my home. So whether I'm looking for big furniture, just a small piece for my place, or maybe some storage solutions for the basement or the garage, the answer is Wayfair. Seriously, I needed a new patio set and fire pit for my backyard. I bought it on Wayfair. It looks great on our deck, and it gives me an excuse to fire up the smoker, invite some friends over, crack a couple beers. Just last week, I bought a new chair for my office, someplace comfortable to sit while the madness takes up the 4 screens in front of me. I got it on Wayfair, clicked a few buttons. A couple days later, it showed up at my front door. They even offered to help set it up for you. Digging through online stores can be intimidating. Trust me, I know. It can be hard to find what you're looking for in your price range, but not on Wayfair. They have great options, even if you are balling on a budget like me. Wayfair has every style for every home, including mine and yours. So head to wayfair.com and shop everything home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We're live. It's the afters. Hit the chat.
I'm not getting close to any bear.
My career high on the court is 28.
Welcome in to the afters here on the field of 68. I'm John Martin, Rob Dauster, Matt McCall. Rob, you mentioned it sort of in the intermission here that Colorado State is up on Boise State, and if they hold on here, that's going to mean that a bubble team in Boise State takes an L, likely knocking them off, and VCU took a home loss tonight. I don't know if we would say they're necessarily off, but they are uncomfortable, very uncomfortable as of tonight after losing that one. So that being the case, who would be the big bubble winners tonight to you?
Anybody at the bottom of the bubble right now, right? If you're Xavier, who we had as the first team out, if you're North Carolina, who we had the second team out, if you are one of these teams, Ohio State, right? If you are one of these teams that is really on the cut line and at risk of not making the NCAA tournament, this was a really, really important night for you because 2 of the teams that were in front of you in that pecking order took losses at home to teams that are not going to be NCAA tournament teams. And the tough part about it is Colorado State for the last month has been really good. They are all alone in second place. They're going to be 2 seed in the Mountain West tournament. Mountain West is going to be a 4-bid league. And they are a team that can go into Las Vegas and win the Mountain West tournament. And I don't think a single person here would be surprised if that happened, right? Dominique Clifford at 36 tonight. He is a stud, man. He is a guy, NBA caliber athlete, shot 4 for 7 for 3 tonight. He's a guy that, we've seen a bunch of players from Colorado State make it to the NBA in recent seasons, and he's going to follow in that trend as well. Also, shout out to Terrence Oglesby, who was on the broadcast for FS1 in this game. But, yeah, McCall, it's the bottom of the bubble, man. Bottom of the bubble had a really, really big night without even having to play on a Friday.
Yeah, I mean, Texas, Oklahoma tomorrow, the Red River rivalry. Like that, I mean, that's winning, you're in. I mean, both those teams right now are like, thank you, Dayton. Thank you very much. Thank you for winning that basketball game. So I'm with you, Rob. I mean, it was – I don't love it because I want to see more mid-majors get in the tournament because I think it is these teams are better than some of these teams. And momentum going into the tournament is a huge thing. Like if you're a 4-14 SEC team,
well, you made the point. You made the point the other day, McCall. The players that are heading into the portal, right? A lot of these, if you're 13th in the SEC, all your guys are already looking towards a portal.
Checked out. Why am I here? So is that going to make the best team in the NCAA tournament field? They're checked out, 100%. Here's the other thing, too, and I've been pretty adamant about this, and I said this earlier today on SiriusXM, in terms of the tournament expansion. Can you guys remember an 11 seed versus an 11 seed in Dayton that you thought was a really good game? Where you're like, man, I really enjoyed watching that game. Can you guys remember?
There was UCLA had one, I want to say, was it the COVID tournament when they played Michigan State?
Okay. So stop there. The COVID tournament, stop there.
Yeah.
Stop there.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you can't because those guys are checked out. Like, really? We got to go to Dayton? Now, the 16s versus 16s, which I think that if the NCAA is going to change anything, that's what they need to change. These teams have automatically qualified. Why are you sending them to the first four? Don't do that to those teams.
They want it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
They want the win share money, Matt. They want the win share money.
That's fine. But we're going to expand the tournament and get more bad games in terms of 11 versus 11. Because you guys didn't, John Martin, you can't remember the last 11 versus 11 in Dayton that you're like, man, that was a great game. It was a buzzer
I think
beater.
Colorado State, Virginia was really I thought the game of the tournament.
Here he goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Here he goes.
That was the game of the
Here he
That was
goes.
good. It was
So we should expand
it was a
the tournament
defensive
to get more
masterclass.
games like that. So we should expand the tournament to get more games like that.
No,
preaching
I mean,
to the
honestly,
choir.
like
You're preaching
you're
to
not
the
going to
choir,
find an
man.
argument with me. I just know what it is. Like I just know, what these people are motivated by, and it's not putting on good games. It's just putting on games. So, I mean, I know, and we all do. I mean, so everything eventually gets ruined. Okay. So I just accept it. And I think we've done a good job here trademarking every possible number.
That's a horrible. Hold on. That's a horrible outlook to have on life. Everything eventually gets ruined.
No, it's not. It's a great outlook because when it happens, I'm not surprised, and if it doesn't, I'm happy. So, but yeah, I mean, it's like the college football playoff is eventually going to be 30 teams. And then because we watch, why wouldn't it be, right? Why would it not be? And then I don't know, it'll be interesting. I do think there's a critical mass at some point where if you expand this thing too large, you will get pushback because people will not tune in the same way.
You know what the saving grace is? The thing that's going to save us from the NCAA tournament turning into a 128 team event. Do you guys know what it is? There's one thing.
What?
One thing on this planet that is going to prevent that from happening. It's
Magnolia
the Masters.
Lane. Magnolia
It's
Lane.
the Masters.
But Rob, I'll say
Masters.
this. And I
Yeah,
said
no,
this.
seriously, it's the Masters.
Hold on.
CBS is never going to change the
because
date
of
of
the
the Masters.
scheduling. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
hold
the
on.
scheduling. That's going to save it.
Hold on. I have a take on this too.
Here we go. Hold on.
Yeah, here
Let
we
me
go.
buckle
Here
up.
we go.
Buckle
Buckle
up.
up. Yeah. Put your seatbelt on. And I'm so against expansion. I'm not for it at all. But the ultimate guys weekend is going to the Final Four on Saturday. The Masters is like the games will be at 7:30 and 10 o'clock at night. That's the Final Four. So you just watched Scotty Scheffler make a birdie on 18 to put himself up 1 going into Sunday. Then you fly to the Final Four. You're going to watch the Final Four. Now, the Final Four has to be in Atlanta to make all this work. It has to be in Atlanta. And then you go watch somebody make a putt on 18 in Augusta on Sunday, and then you fly back to watch the national championship on Monday. Wow. Think about that.
I mean, yeah, but I haven't even been able to think about a guy's weekend since before COVID. So
yeah,
I mean,
I'm
what's that? What's that? I mean,
that is the only. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you got 3 guys on here with multiple kids and wives. Well, just one wife, but multiple kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoa, speak for yourself on that one. Speak for yourself on that one, John.
We're over here fantasizing about this guy's weekend that we're not going to have for another 14 years. But yeah, somebody can have it. I'll live through them, man. I'll live through them for sure. All right, you guys want to talk about Saturday a little bit? We do have a couple of bangers. Yeah. North Carolina's in if they win this game tomorrow. I mean, I think that's obvious, but easier said than done as well, as Carolina's going to be a 8.5, 9-point underdog in this one. Rob Dauster, what chance do you ascribe the Tar Heels to get this done at home and get into the tournament?
I think they actually have a chance. And it's the only reason I say that is because it's the Carolina Duke rivalry. Crazy shit happens in this rivalry every single season. And like everyone's like, oh, I'd be shocked if North Carolina beat. No, it's North Carolina and Duke. It's this rivalry that, I think it's going to take a 30 burger from RJ Davis, Ian Jackson looking like the Ian Jackson that we saw 6 weeks ago, Seth Trimble playing well, and somehow, some way, some miracle, the fact that North Carolina's starting lineup and best five with Van Allen Lubin as the 6'7" center is going to be able to compete with a team that starts four guys that are 6'7" or taller. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I would not be surprised if North Carolina found a way to be able to get this done. I don't know if I'd necessarily wager any of my hard-earned American dollars on it over at BetMGM, but it would not surprise me if North Carolina found a way to get this done.
It wouldn't surprise me if they cover the spread. It would surprise me if they get it done. But I'm with you in terms of like a rivalry.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Rob. I mean, what are you seeing, man? Yeah. What are you seeing?
Yeah. I am seeing that Carolina blue.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Carolina has absolutely zero chance to win this game. Zero. I don't care what rivalry it is. I don't care. I don't care about that because the history doesn't mean shit in this game, right? It just doesn't. I mean, and I think what we're going to see is that North Carolina hit a patch in their schedule that was very beneficiary for them, and a bunch of teams that were in the hundreds and 150s, and they haven't seen a team within 70, 80 spots of Duke. I think even 100 spots of Duke in this nice little 6-game winning streak, and then they're going to see Duke tomorrow, and it's going to be like an oh shit moment. And I think Duke rolls again. I think they're going to get exposed tomorrow. I really do. Again, credit to them for beating the teams they're supposed to beat, Matt. But like, why do we think anything would be fundamentally different about this North Carolina team just because they beat up on some slapdicks in the ACC?
I'm with you. But let me shift to this real quick. Shout out to New Mexico. What a year for the Patino family, by the way. New Mexico games final, Mountain West regular season champions, outright. They knock off UNLV 81-67. Is there a better family that's having a family that's having a better year than the Patinos right now? Is there a family that's having a better year than them?
They did. I won the Mount Laurel 9U Rec League basketball championship.
I know you did, and you were.
I don't want to get political.
Red pick and roll protection
family, but
that's what you did.
I'm
with you, John. I don't see Carolina winning this game. Look, they've taken care of their business. They've won the games that they're supposed to win on their schedule. They've beaten every bad team in the ACC coming down the stretch. Tomorrow's the litmus test. Okay.
Right.
All right. You want to be an NCAA tournament team? Show us.
Yeah.
Show us.
That's right.
If you get beat by double figures, you're not.
Remember, the last time they played a tournament team.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a one-possession game at the under 4 timeout, all right, maybe you are. But tomorrow's the test. Like, all right, show us what you got. And it's at home.
It's at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's at home, yeah. But anyway, Rob's got North Carolina money line. He says he gave it out here on the show. He says it's his biggest bet of the season. He absolutely loves it. He's bet it 4 different times already. He says he's going to bet it live. You didn't say that. You said you're actually not going to bet it. But look, I hope it's competitive. I'd like to see Duke tested. I don't know if North Carolina is the team that can bring it to them. All right. Also,
here's the key. Here's the key. This is what has to happen. You got to have like a 8-0 run to open the game. You got to do something early that gets that crowd into it, right? Because if you remember what happened in Cameron Indoor Stadium, Duke, it was like 47-15 or something like that. That game was over 5 minutes into it. You cannot let that happen if you're North Carolina. Yeah. You're going to have 17,000 people in the Dean Dome.
That's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not. That's not going to be. That's not going to be the case. The question is going to be if it's a 1-point game going into the half. Does Duke go on a 8-0 run to start the second half?
Yes.
How do you respond to that? Where it's like, man, it's going the wrong way.
Right. I think more likely
the game. It's going to be at halftime. Okay. Oh man, everyone's into it. It's a 1-point game. No, and then what happens to start the second half?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think if you want to bet North Carolina tomorrow, like what I would just bet first half, right?
Yes,
because there's no world where they don't cover first half and then cover full game. Like I don't see that, right? Like they either are competitive the entire way, starting in the first half, or they just get their doors blown off and that's the end of it. So if you really want to get involved with North Carolina, I would really want to focus on that first 20 minutes. But I will not be getting involved with North Carolina. All right, let's talk about Alabama Auburn. This one's interesting, Rob, because there are questions about Denver Jones' availability. There's questions about how much Auburn really cares about this game, given that they already have 15 quad one wins and their fate is basically sealed. Alabama, on the other hand, obviously lost 2 in a row here. They really need this one if they're going to start to make a case again for the one line. What do you make of this one?
I don't know, man. I think Auburn finds a way to be able to win it. I think Auburn wins it fairly comfortably. My question is, what do you think this line's going to be? How much is it Auburn laying? Are we talking like 7.5? Are we talking?
Yeah, I think it's like 8. No, it's like 8.5, somewhere around there. It's already open. So, and it's at KenPom, it's 11. And I think that, again, it's come in because there's questions about Auburn's motivation and Denver Jones's injury.
I don't think you need motivation when you are playing you're playing your rival, right? You're playing
your rival. You don't need any motivation. It's a rivalry game. There's no motivation.
You just got punked by Texas A&M. You're playing your rival. There's a statement to be made that it's going to be senior night for some of these guys. Like I think they come out and roll them.
That's true.
I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm not as in on Alabama as I was maybe 3 weeks ago. I think
clearly, because you're talking about them like they're a 10 seed. They're just going to get rolled.
I think Auburn's that good. I
agree.
I think there's a very real scenario where Auburn doesn't win a game by less than double figures in the NCAA tournament. But I think that there's a level of physicality that Alabama's missing. We talked about this with Illinois a little bit. There's too many specialized players on Alabama, right? Like you got Cliff Amore who's out there to rebound and block shots, and he's not quite good enough to do it. You got guys that are out there to shoot, and they're really good shooters, but do they bring enough to the rest of the game to be able to impact the way you need him to, right? Is Jaron Stevenson 6'11", all this athleticism? Is he actually good at basketball, right? If you're going to play Mo Diabate out there, can he be a small ball 5 at 6'7" and 215 pounds? What's going to happen when everyone realizes that you can go at Grant Nelson and you can just abuse him if you have a big, strong, physical four-man? What they did against Florida is they tried to top lock everything for all the zoom actions that Florida was running, and Florida just back screened them to death. That's why you saw Alex Condon get 37 dunks in that game, because instead of they try to force him to go under those zoom actions, and they just go backdoor. You drop it off to Walter Clayton, who throws a little no-look dump off to Alex Condon, and he's dunking on Cliff Amore's face. It just, I don't know, man. I'm a little bit worried about Alabama right now.
I feel bad for the rec league coaches in your league, because you're going to blow up all those actions too. That's what you're going to do. The fact that you're talking about top blocking and blowing up zoom actions. He's
going to do it himself. I don't know if you've seen the videos from those games. Love that. He gets on the court. It's unbelievable.
Can I come to a game? I want to come to a game. I'm coming.
Please do.
The other thing too is, Sears took 24 shots the other night. 24. There was clips in the second half where he's coming across half court and the ball is not touching anybody else's hands, and he's shooting it from the logo. So it's look, I get it. This team went to the Final Four last year. Sears is an unbelievable player. But, 24 shots? 24. The ball has to move. This team could get to a Final Four. This team could win a national championship and cut the nets down, but the ball has to move way more than it is right now. And for him to take some of the shots and the shot selections, it's hey man, like your mom was tweeting about, Coach Oates benching you against LSU. Was she tweeting about your shot selection the other night? I hope she was.
Look, I'll be the brave one here, and I'll say that I still believe in Alabama. I do. I mean, think about it. They collapse against Tennessee. How much better are we feeling about them if they hold on, right?
Yes,
I mean, we're feeling a lot better about them if they don't.
Let's not
if they
overreact.
Don't,
yes,
I mean,
let's not overreact.
And I'll also say this. I don't think anybody is beating Florida on Wednesday night. The way they played against Alabama and Tuscaloosa with their bigs, I don't think anybody was winning. I don't think Auburn was beating Florida that night. I don't think Duke was beating Florida that night. I don't think Houston was beating the Gators that night. So I think they just have kind of stepped in it here a little bit. Guys, it's Tennessee in Knoxville, and it's the freaking Florida Gators. Like, it's not like they're not dropping back-to-back games against Ole Miss and Texas here.
That's actually a fair point. They've lost 4 of their last 6, and 3 of those 4 against top 6 teams in America.
100%.
Yeah. So I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Although, again, I understand that the second half and what Matt is talking about is valid. Like, there's so much talent on this Alabama team. Let's involve other guys. Like, we can do that and be successful. Yeah. No question. But hey, this is the last regular season Saturday of the year tomorrow, fellas. And then we're on to the postseason. We did it. We did it. First auto bid going to be decided as well tomorrow. So we're here, boys. We are absolutely here. Hey, thanks for sticking with us tonight here on a Friday. As always, we will be with you throughout the month of March as we get to the NCAA tournament with the best college basketball coverage in the world. For Rob Dauster, for Matt McCall, I'm John Martin. Thanks for being with us.